Hi, I'm Christina, and welcome to this episode of Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness Interviews to Inspire. I am thrilled to introduce our next guest, a founder, community builder, and encouragement coach. She's a powerful voice for overcoming adversity and embracing abundance. A big turning point in her life challenged her to rise. Her side gig turned into a platform to empower others and reach to share their stories. With her proven framework for improving mental and physical well-being, mastering your message, and turning ideas into action, she's dedicated to helping others move from surviving to thriving and getting results. Please join me in welcoming podcaster, author, speaker, and founder of the Inspiring Innovators Club and Awards, and founder of the Women Podcast Network and Awards, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. So I'm here in Vancouver, BC, Canada on the West Coast. And I just love podcasting. I love the podcasting community. I started the Women in Podcasting Network in 2019, beginning of 2020. You mentioned the rise, reach, and results. And my journey started when, for many years, I had my side gig as a part-time, business at night, and I would work my full-time job during the day. And so I was at my job one day and I got the worst phone call anyone wants to receive. And it was my husband's boss. And he said, "You need to come to the hospital right away because your husband's been in a very bad accident." And he was a supervisor in a sawmill. So I got to the hospital and I didn't even recognize him at first. He had been crushed by 12,000 pounds of wood. He survived, thankfully, and it was a long, long, long recovery. And I was so proud of him. And, he was so courageous. And one of the things that I noticed was the communities he had been involved in now came around and rallied around him. For example, he was a volunteer football coach, and the kids and the coaches would come around and say, "We're here for you, Coach Paul." And it made me realize I was missing that kind of camaraderie in my life and my business. And so it really blew up our lives, but it kind of sparked something in me to take all those things that I've been putting on the back burner and bring them forward and just start living the life that I want to live.
Jennifer, your health word is rise. Tell us a little bit more about the word rise as it relates to health.
Through the recovery of my husband's situation, we both learned so much. We learned from podcasts and different experts and people, and we incorporated all kinds of new modalities into our life that enrich our life and that we still do today because it helps us so much. So, for example, meditation, affirmations, different types of exercises. One is called the melt method. That's where you lay on a foam roller on your spine and different parts and massage, all kinds of different modalities that helped us with our mind and body. So mental health and our physical health. And we really embraced more of a lifestyle of self-care, self-help, and incorporating that and not making it as a side thing, but making it the primary thing so that we focus on our health, number one, and not always putting it to the back of the line, which a lot of times we do. Before his accident, I was in hustle mode. I was hustling, trying to do everything on my own. That just wasn't working. I was exhausted. And so now we put our health first instead of last.
And it's amazing, something like that wakes us up in a way that we had no idea we needed woken up. You talked about how we get in that grind and we get in that everyday moment and we're like, whoa, wait a minute, we need to start actually living. So you actually rose to this. I mean, after such a tragedy like this, how did you manage your emotions as well as your physical health?
One of the things that inspired me was that little football community that came around and rallied around my husband. And so now my saying is drop the hustle and join the huddle. Because when I noticed that and that really impacted me, I realized I was missing that in the entrepreneurial world. And I was missing that in my life in general. And so I invited a bunch of other business owners to lunch one day. So I wasn't very organized with it back then. I just put it out on social, who wants to join me for lunch? To my surprise, 50 business owners showed up. I realized I wasn't the only one that was wanting community and wanting connection. And so that little meeting turned into a group, and that group turned into a network. And I ended up with a large business network because people want to connect. And guess what? People want to connect with you. If you're listening to this, I know it's hard to leave the house sometimes, but what I found out is that nothing really works unless you're part of a community, and you need to show up to be helped. So there are people out there who want to help you and come alongside you, provide you with resources, teach you new things, and they want to learn from you as well, but you need to show up for those things to come into your life. And so my platform actually I helped my husband go from an injured mill worker to an international speaker. He became a TED Talk speaker, as well as wrote a book about our story. And I was able to get lots of speaking gigs. And finally, I broke through and took my side gig to my full-time income. And I haven't worked for anyone else since.
Isn't it incredible? Congratulations for all of that.
Thank
Really.
you.
With that busy schedule that you have, what kind of things do you do to keep balanced with your busy schedules?
Yeah, one of the things that's really helping recently is definitely AI and automation. I like to automate as many things as possible, not fear the technology, but embrace it for the things that can enrich my life so that I can spend more time in connection and community. Because to me, human connection is the most valuable thing in the universe. We need to connect with each other and just magic happens. And there's so much science that backs that we're so much healthier and so much more happier, just more content. Our wellness improves when we connect with other people and we have community and a society that embraces us and that we can support others and they can support us. And so that's been really important. Everything we do at the core is community and connection.
I love that. It's simple, but it's true. It is so about community. And it's amazing because now we live in a world of worldwide community, but there is nothing like that in-person handshake and hug. And oh my gosh, this is you on the other side of Zoom. So yeah, it is incredible. And you have a huge community now that's with you, and especially in the women podcasting area.
Yes. So I sold that business network I mentioned. I sold that in 2018, but then now I have the Women Podcasters Network and I also have the Inspiring Innovators Club and different communities like that. I have a few different entrepreneurial communities. And so I just love building communities around specific topics. We have personal communities too, walking clubs and different things like that. But I just find it so important to be part of a community. You need to be community oriented before you try to create your own community. So get out there and, join some clubs or be involved in things that will enrich your life. When I turned 50, I went skydiving and I was excited about it. And I was doing well all the way up in the plane. We're going up, up, up. You go up really high. And so I was doing fine until the door opened and, people started falling out of the plane on purpose. And that doesn't usually happen anytime I've been on a plane. And it's a bit jarring. But then I wasn't really frightened until you have to step outside of the plane onto a little step on the outside of the plane. And that's when I kind of became filled with fear. And then we had to jump. I was tethered to someone. They were nudging me. You got to jump now. You got to jump now. So we jumped and I took the position, this skydiving position. It was terrifying at first because it just felt like I was falling and I was terrified. But then I took the position. And I don't know if you know this, but after only for about 3 to 5 seconds feels like falling. And then it just feels like you're floating and flying. And so then the view became beautiful and spectacular. And it was the most amazing experience of my life. And we landed safely. And then now, whenever something comes up, I think to myself, I was most frightened right before the leap. And that's most things, you're frightened before the leap. And so now I just encourage people, take the leap because the most beautiful things can be on the other side of that fear.
I remember seeing that post and I felt so inspired by it because I could see the visual and I was there with you at that moment of that huge fear and then that peace that comes afterwards of like, I did it. I did the thing.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And what advice could you give someone who has dealt with a health crisis and they're looking for their own opportunity to rise?
Education and awareness is so powerful, and podcasts are great for that, to learn, to get into a community and really learn new skills, be open to new things. I really thought, when I was stuck having my business as a side gig for so many years, I had all the skills. I had all the business skills. It was the mental wellness and the mindset stuff where I was lacking. And so, if you feel like you've done everything and you don't know what else to do, just start learning new things. Open your mind, becoming aware of new things and connecting with new people, learning new skills and strategies that can help your lifestyle and help you in your business. Because, if we just keep doing the same thing, it's going to produce the same results.
Stay tuned to part 2 and learn about the wealth word for this interview. Subscribe and click the link below to find out about bonus tracks and how to join our community.